Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Welcome to a stream and chapter 3. Chapter 3. Working on that guy right there. That is our 2021, I was going to say 19, but 2021 Ford Bronco by AMT. Run the intro. And we'll get started. Okay guys, we're back and we're going to continue on this build, and if you haven't guessed already by what I'm holding in my hand, we're going to be doing some painting today. We're going to do some painting on the body. It's about time in the build that we got some paint done on the body, because our next couple of steps are really just going to lead us right into that. But it's not quite yet. We're going to start with a little bit of assembly and then we'll do some painting, okay? So let's have a look at what we've done already. So we've got the chassis done, okay? The bottom half of the chassis is all finished. Did a little bit of touch-up paint on a couple of things that I needed to get done, so we did that. So everything's all nicely painted and she's all assembled and ready to go, okay? Let's flip this, switch the camera here and let's have a look, okay? So here we are. Here's our lower chassis. Now I want to do a little bit of, the same kind of brushing little thing on this plate here, but haven't done that yet, so I'm going to wait till later. But yeah, like I said, we did a little bit of touch up on our control arms, got those painted up, and same with our anti-sway bar on the front. Sometimes people call them a sway bar, sometimes it's anti-sway. I would say it's an anti-sway because it stops you from swaying, so it's anti-sway, yeah, in my opinion. And yeah, so we got touched up a little bit on our shocks here, where the shock absorber meets the bushing there, so that that's black like it's supposed to be. And yeah, so that's about it for that. I did find out, looking through the instructions, our interior floor is completely exposed, so this is all going to be seen, and so I needed to paint that black. Now as you can tell, it doesn't really look all that great. I want to kind of give it another coat if I can. Just give this another little quick coat here before we move on. If I got anything left in this can, we're going to try here. It's almost empty. It might not spray anything. A little bit. Okay, we got a little bit out of it, but that's pretty much the end of the can right there. Okay, that's it. Done. I did manage to get the roof done. I got our roof painted black, inside and out. What I did was the top of the roof I sprayed with the can, which gives it this kind of a semi-gloss look to it, but on the inside I sprayed it with the airbrush, which is a totally flat black look. So I like the fact that we can do that with the Mr. Surfacer. So we're going to let this dry for a minute and we'll have a look at our instructions. So we finished step 6 last time, and we finished step 7, and we finished, 6. Where's step 7? This is steps 6, 7, and then step 8. We got our front drive shaft in. Step 8's all done. Step 9 was the last part we got done. So step 10 is what we need to do now, and that is our, what do they call that? Front skid plate. So let's grab that. I have that painted. Our skid plate is painted here. She's all ready for installation. This is another piece that I want to do a little bit of dry brushing on it to show, like, hey, maybe he hasn't really done any off-road, but maybe he's driven down gravel roads and has some rocks chipped up a little bit on the front underneath there. So yeah, so let's just let this dry. We'll flip her over. And actually, before I do that, let me change my glasses here. Flip her over, and we'll put her in. Seems pretty straightforward of a installation here. 2 pegs going to go into these 2 front holes, like so, and then go down. It's a tight fit. These pegs are tight. So let's get the paint off of these pegs. because they are a tight fit. I could have paint in the holes too. That could be another reason why they're tight. I would say normally a tight hole is pretty good, but we don't want it too tight. We don't want the hole so tight that you can't get your peg in, because that's, you know, it's not fun when you experience that. Yeah, it leads to disappointment when you cannot get the peg in the hole because the hole is too tight. So I want to just kind of clean this up a little bit here and here. We're going to make sure our peg will fit in the holes. Alright, let's see here. Now they fit in nicely. And it sits just like that. And that is it. And I'm kind of regretting doing all the dry brushing along here. Well, thank you for the subscription. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Anyway, I'm kind of regretting putting all that dry brushing along there, because I don't think that would be a section that gets really, you know, hit with anything. So I'm going to touch that up real quick here. With I'm just going to brush on some Mr. Surfacer black and just touch those edges up a little bit. I don't think that would be, realistically, I don't think there would be any I'm just going to go along in here like this and just kind of clean that front edge up a little. Like that. I don't think that would get as much wear as what I was kind of anticipating. So, clean up my brush. Even a tiny little thing like that, even a tiny thing like that, I still want to clean up the brush. Okay. So this back part literally just sits on there like that. So let's get this lined up again. That looks a little bit better. I think that's more realistic portrayal of how it would be. So I'm going to put some glue onto our pegs. This peg here, and these two rear pegs here and here. A little bit easier for me to line it up with my left hand. There we go. Okay, our front skid plate is installed. Just like that. Alrighty. There's our front skid plate. Alright. Okay, so this is dry now. We've got a nice satin finish on it. Let's close up my glue because I don't need it. So step 10, that's all there is to step 10. That's it. Done. So let's flip our book open to step 11. Step 11, we're starting to put some interior stuff in there. And as you can see, this is how I've figured out there's no actual floor pan. Normally in these car models you have like a bucket, an interior bucket that all your seats and everything go in on, but not in this kit, and which is why we need to paint this your interior color. And so that's why I did that, okay? So we got our interior panels. I think I want to work my way out from the middle, which means, well, they even tell us here. Step number 1, we're going to do the center console. Then our seats, and then our dash with our side panels and our rear panel. I have them all taken off the sprues already. As you guys know, seeing from step 1, we've got our seats. Seats are all done. Even got the little Bronco emblem on them. seat number 2. And then we've got our rear seats. We have our center console here somewhere. Here he is. Now the center console, I need to paint the gear shifter. That needs to be painted rubber black. And it's going to be easiest to do that while it's sitting here. I also have my dashboard completed with a stubborn decal that did not want to sit down properly. Now my camera doesn't want to focus. Can we focus? No, we can't. Okay, that's about as good as we're going to get. Maybe here. Nope, here. Camera's just hunting. I'm sorry, guys. Camera just wants to hunt. Not much I can do about it. Okay, rubber black on our gear shifter. We need some realistic rubber black on that. That will differentiate it from the rest of the console. Make it pop out. If you're not confident in painting, you could paint the shifter before you even install it. But you know, I was eager to get the shifter on there, so I went and painted it before. I went and installed it right away. Okay, again, clean the brush real quick. We'll get to painting the body, guys. We will. We're going to get our interior put together first. Get our interior installed, and then we'll paint the body, okay? We'll do that after. Okay, so that's painted. I'm going to grab our thing. Grab our thing. Yes, it's always fun to grab your thing. 2 pegs here. We're going to line them up with the holes here. Somehow line them up. Somehow. Come on. There we go. Again, it's just about every hole needs to be opened up. Seems to be par for the course with this kit. There we go. Okay, there's our center console. Okay, just like so. So, you might notice I'm utilizing my thicker glue a lot more than I normally do on my builds for these pegs, just because the thicker glue does, in my experience, the thicker glue does hold a little bit stronger than the thin. But where the thin will allow you to do a little bit of adjustment and stuff like that, the thicker stuff does not like that. The thicker stuff is kind of a set it and don't touch it kind of thing. So our seats are definitely lefts and rights, as they've got this great big panel on them that hangs down. So those go towards the outside, as you can see in this picture, or as you can see in this picture, the panel goes to the outside. So there's your lefts and your rights. Also, our little divot here is going to go coincide with that little thing right there, as this tab slides into that hole. Let's have a look here. And it does go down all the way. It's a tight fit and it fits nice. It holds all by itself, but we're not going to rely on friction to hold it in. We're going to put some glue on it. And again, I'm going to use this stuff so I can slather it onto this peg. And shove that in there. all the way down. And that is perfect. Now I don't know if the camera's really going to pick it up, but you can tell the difference in the shade of black from the NATO black that I used on the seat and the Mr. Surfacer that I just did flat black on the carpet. Right? It's a subtle difference, but enough to show you that you look at it and you go, hey, that's not all just one shade of black. So for our passenger seat, we're going to do a test fit here just to make sure nothing funny's going on. Looks like we're going to be all right. Okay. Similar fashion, put a bunch of glue on here. Line that up. There we go. Hold that for a sec. And there we go. Passenger seat is in. All right. So we now have our rear seats. 2 tabs, going to line up with this back here. I don't know if this is going to be anything. I think they just sit into that little notch right there like that. Yeah, just like that. Pretty simple. I could slide them forward. I don't think it makes much of a difference. If I go too far forward, they kind of come off the rail. You don't want to come off the rails, you know. So, going on each side of the tab here, on both sides, and maybe along here too. And I'm not sure if I got any contact back here, but if I do, I want that glued too. I want the back seat to be glued in good. There we go. Our rear seat is in. We now have 4 seats, guys. Okay. Next step is our door panels. 31, 32, and 52. Those are still on the sprue. They're still on their sprues. So let's put this aside for a sec. And let's get these panels off. Yes, get them off. There's 52. And now we need these. All right. Once again, undergated everything, even on the tabs. Why they felt the need to undergate on the tab, I don't know. It is nice that it's undergated here, so I don't have a nub to have to clean up on that edge, but it's also unnecessary undergating, in my opinion. In my opinion, as you guys know, it doesn't mean anything. Okay, and of course we got a nub there, but that's on the bottom, so that's okay. And I already took care of the one up there prior to painting. So I don't know if there's any order of assembly for the door panels. They don't have them marked out at all. They do tell me that I'm supposed to do a little bit of painting to F, letter F. What color is F? Let me take a quick look here. F is silver. So we do want me to paint our trim on our door handles and on our door, on our armrest for some reason. Why is the armrest like that? I don't know. But our door, our little door latch should have some paint to it. Which makes me wonder, why is there nothing on the rear panel? I don't know. Maybe there's no latch? I don't know. And then we have what looks like a latch back here. Would that be silver too? I don't know. I really don't know. But I am going to have to get my smaller brush. Normally I don't bother with showing you guys do the paint process, but this is kind of, while I'm assembling it, I need to do some painting. So you might get stuck having to stare at my forehead, or the top of my head anyway, as I get in close here to paint this. I need to see what I'm doing. Okay, this one. There we go. Now there's nothing calling out the painting of this. There's just no nothing. So I'm just going to leave those like that. Speaking of doing the little details, I don't think there's anything on the dash that's silver at all. It's all black. So, yeah. So again, even though that was just a tiny little amount, I need to clean the brush. Which of course doesn't take that long at all. Okay, so with those done, let's have a look at how they get installed here. So I'm assuming these rectangular tabs go into these rectangular holes, and then our rear panel has two pegs that go into these round holes. And for the first time we have pegs that I don't need to open up the holes. So there's the rear panel. This is our passenger side panel. It lines up right about there. And as the front one goes in fine, but our rear one doesn't really want to go in its hole. Why don't you want to go in your hole? Maybe my nub is interfering with it, so let's clean that up. If they didn't undergate it, it would have been fine. Since we had a problem with that one, we'll probably have a problem with this one. There we go. Okay, let's see. Let's try this again. She fits now. She's a little bit tight, but she fits. Okay, there's our passenger panel. driver's side. It's tight, but it fits. What about the front? Front don't want to go in. Okay, so our front panel don't want to go in on our front tab. Well, because we've got a nub on there. Let's try that now. It's tight, but it looks like it'll be okay. There we go. It kind of snapped into place. Her rear is not in. So we got the front in this one, but not the rear. Come on. The rear's almost in, but not quite. Let's chamfer that hole. How about that? Can't chamfer the hole, chamfer the peg. We're almost there, but it's not quite. It's just, It's just, That's got to do it. And that did it. Okay. So we've got our pegs in, and then this guy goes in right here. And he kind of goes, it looks like he just rests onto the back of this one. Or does that spread apart? No. It's just like that. And then we have our dash is going to fix this little wobbliness. Our dash is going to hold them together. So our dash has to go onto this little slot that's right there. See that slot there? Right there? Right there, right there? Yeah, two of those. They're going to go into those little tabs. This little tab that's right there, where my fingernail is pointing. Okay, that's going to go on there, like that. So it looks like we're going to have to kind of put the dash in, kind of like go like this with it. So let's get this back in here. And, well, at the same time, this has to go down into that slot. So maybe if I do this, and put the dash in on one side, like that, and then I have to admit, you know, this is probably the first build I've done where I've done so much dry fitting before any glue at all. And it's all holding together. Let's just take him off because he's wobbly. But that's it. So we're in our tabs here and here. Everything's fitting really nicely. I'm impressed with the fit, I have to admit. Okay, we're going to use some of our extra thin now. And we'll go around all these spots. The tab goes in on the front of the dash, or the center console, I mean, where a tab is on each side of the dash. Where it connects to the floor here on that tab. Moving to the back. this side, the tab on the floor on this side. And we'll give it a little bit of a press and just make sure it's all down. And now our rear panel, I'm going to put a little glue, using the thicker glue on those pegs. Here and here. Line that up. Put that in its spot. And with it in its spot, we'll use the extra thin here to hold it there. Now, it's not really touching this side panel here, but I could squeeze it just a little bit and get it to touch. But since we're not actually touching it all on this side, I don't want to get a funny angle on this. I want this straight up. So I'm just going to leave it. The fact we got a gap there, that's fine. We do have what appears to be a big nub. I might have to remove that. But we're going to leave that. Just let that all cure. We're going to look at our firewall and our pedals. So number 53, I have it somewhere here. Here we are. Number 53, firewall, painted front and back. And then we've got to grab our pedals. So our pedals are number 95. I have those somewhere, and they are somewhere painted. All ready to go. I just have to find them. I remember painting them. There they are. So these are already painted. They're proper colors. So the arms are just flat black, and the pedals themselves, they are painted with rubber black already. They're going to go into the two holes here like this, so that we can call that done. So I'm going to glue them from the back side here. There really isn't much else to them. And then we've got a peg here that's going to go into a big hole in the floor right here. And that looks like that's all there is to that. Fits in the floor fine. And it does touch our side panels. So we can glue. See, I went and dumped over my glue again. Did you guys see, did you even notice that? I dumped my glue. Fortunately, the lid was on. It didn't fall off. I didn't spill any. That's the second time in 50 years I've dumped my glue. Or maybe it's the third time. And since it is touching our door panels, I am going to glue it to the door panels. It is just barely touching at the very top here, but why not? Why not add that strength to it? So there we go. As you can see, we've got a very detailed engine bay. Not. Okay, so that's that. That's step 12 done. Step 13, dealing with body stuff, which means that's it. That's it for the assembly in this episode. Next, we're dealing with paint. As promised, we're going to do some painting. Okay, so this is going to get set aside. I'll just put him over here, as we're going to deal with the body and the hood. Now the hood I want to take off of the sprue because I don't want to have to deal with taking nubs off and then painting again. So And in fact, I'm probably going to install the hood. Let's just get rid of this. Okay. Because our hood has these big nubs on them. Now it's nice that they're undergated, but it's still terrible idea to have nubs on your hood like this. And then we've got the nubs at the back here to clean up. My air compressor is already fired up and ready. He's waiting very patiently for me. I'm going to be using my 0.5 nozzle in the airbrush in my trigger airbrush so that I get a nice good big fan of paint. See, I'm tempted to just put the hood on and glue it. I would love to be able to glue it, but I can't because we have pieces that get installed underneath there. So the hood has these two long pegs to go into these holes, and they're too big to fit in the holes. So let's get back to drilling. Oh. Let's widen that up a little bit. Is she gonna fit now? I mean, I'm pretty sure they intend you to glue the hood down anyway. Let me just take it off of this. But that's such a tight fit. It's ridiculously tight. And I don't even have any paint on the pegs. And I just opened those up a little bit. Well, we're going to open them up bigger then. You want big holes? We'll have big holes. Doesn't matter when it gets glued down anyway, right? Yeah, it fits now. Fits now. Okay, so I'm going to tape our hood down for painting. Yes. Let's get a little bit of tape. A little strip there should do her on the back, and a little strip on the front. Actually, I'm going to do a little bit big wider tape there. Let's do a wider piece. There we go. Okay, so there we have our body. Let's get her back onto our little stand. There we go. Ready for paint. All right, so like I mentioned before, it's Pro Scale paints, Ford Cyber Orange. We have a tint coat. This is what we're going to put on after our base coat is dry. So you start, according to their instructions on their website, you spray the base coat first, let it dry. Once it's dry, you add the tint coat. So the tint coat is something we will do later. We're going to make sure this is mixed up. I did mix it up earlier, but you know, it's been like an hour or so, we might as well make sure she's good and mixed up. I did put a ball bearing in there. Now again, you don't have to add any thinner to these. They're thin enough right out of the jar to spray. Okay. So if you're curious what airbrush I'm actually using, this is the Mr. Krios PS 290. Okay, it's a trigger, dual action trigger airbrush. with a 0.5 needle in it. And so it's got a fan on it, so this sprays in a fan pattern, and you can rotate this to have the fan spraying like this, vertically or horizontally, whatever your preference is. So my other camera should still be working and still set up. I'm going to hold this because I don't want to spray paint. I don't want to come out with my hand orange later. You're going to notice my little bench is cluttered pretty good over here because, well, when you do more than one project at once, that's what happens. Clutter happens. So there's our color. Where's my little mixer guy? I got so much stuff that I deal with all the time, every day, every day. I lose my stuff. There it is. Let's fill up our cup. I did about half full. Now, because it's got a 0.5 needle in it and it sprays so much, I am going to go through a lot of this. I might wind up having to fill up the cup again. We will see. Once I get like the second or third coat on there, yeah, I'll probably wind up having to fill up the cup. Or, yeah, fill up the cup, yeah. Let's switch the camera and we'll see how she looks. Alright, here we are. And yes, this is my cluttered little area here. But we're going to first go underneath, make sure you get the bottom, and then we'll do the top. Okay? Alright. So as you can see, it comes out looking very yellow. So you have to do layers. You got to layer it on, right? So you could let this sit for maybe 5 minutes or so and do another coat, another 5 minutes, another coat. You can do that over and over. But it does dry when you spray it on light enough. It actually does get pretty dry. Like I've only taken this, just finished spraying, and it's already kind of dry. So you can, if you spray slow enough, you can go over and over and over and build up your color until we get to the actual color that's in the brush, right? So yeah, let's continue. Okay, so I'm going to have to pause. I'm going to have to pause my painting for a little while. Something I'm noticing on this side is I've got a little bit of blemishes coming through. My passenger side doesn't look too bad, but I want to show you guys what's going on here. So I'm just quickly going to dump out the rest of this. I'm almost done. See, I filled up the cup about halfway, and I'm almost empty. Almost empty just from that, and I'm still haven't gotten to the color that's actually in the jar. But I wanted to show you guys what's going on with my color here. So I'm just going to take my glove off and I'll change the camera and I'll show you what's going on. I've got a little bit of reaction that I'm going to have to sand this down. Let's change here. Over on my driver's side here, right here, I've got a little bit of a blemish going on right on the fender. Right in there. I want to sand that down smooth, and I got a little bit right here too, and it's actually a little bit of a dark spot. If the camera will just smarten up and focus, it would be great. You can see in those little brief moments it is in focus. Yeah, it's one of those things. It's just one of those things that yeah, it's because the orange is very transparent it's showing little blemishes through there, and I want to fix that up before I continue. Now, even though this is pretty much dry already, I want to let this dry a little bit longer, maybe, I don't know, maybe an hour or so. I'll let this dry a little bit so that I can sand it. Just very, 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 very lightly with just like 10,000 grit sandpaper. I want to get that down a little bit and get that looking a little better. Yeah, so I'm going to clean up my brush. We'll come back a little bit later, all right? And we'll finish this up.
2 hours later.
Okay, we are back. So it's been a little while, and I put a few more coats on it, and so we have a nice orange Bronco. And so something I have encountered, this is actually the first time I've encountered this in quite a few years of painting. I got orange peel on my paint, and it seems to be orange peeling very quickly, a lot faster than I really want to deal with, and out of frustration I don't care anymore. So what I did was I sanded it down. It's sanded down, although it still has some orange peel. I don't know if the camera will show it. I'll try and show you what's going on. The camera might show it. You might be able to see. Yeah, you can see it looks rough. It's not shiny. It should be pretty shiny, but it's not. It's got a little bit of orange peel to it. And yeah, I tried going in nice and close and get a nice wet coat, but it's just orange peeling on me. So I've gone with some 6,000 grit wet sanding on it to get it fairly smooth. So it's smooth to the touch, it just doesn't look very good. And so now I'm going to do the top coat, the tint coat for the Cyber Orange. So again, I have my airbrush set up. I just need to mix this up because it has settled a little bit. So I'm going to put in a nice thick coat on this, of this stuff. I'm just going to go straight in with a nice wet coat, and we'll see how it comes out. So because I have not encountered orange peel, I'm not a professional painter, especially when it comes to automotive. I know that orange peel kind of happens when the paint dries too quickly, I think it is. If that's correct, I don't know. You'll have to let me know in the comments. I don't know if that's actually correct. If orange peel happens when paint dries too quickly, I don't know. And I mean, honestly, I don't know how I would cause this to dry slower, because I'm not sure what kind of paint this is. I could try some Mr. Leveling Thinner and mix it in there and see how it comes up. That's a possibility. I don't know. For this coat, I want to make sure I got no static on there, so I'm going to use my little anti-static brush just to make sure I don't get any dust in my paint, which so far this has been pretty good, and I haven't had any like dust or hair fall on it. I did turn on a fan, but I'm going to turn that off so I'm not blowing dust around my room, and we'll just do a little brush on that. My painting camera should still be working. It should, I say it should, but you know, I never know. Let's try here and we'll take a look and we'll see if it's working. Yeah, looks okay. We're doing good. There it is. All right. Let's get going here. There we go. So that's it. She's done. So the tint coat really kind of turns it into sort of a, it kind of gives it a metallic-y sheen to it. Definitely changes the tint on it just a little bit. Enough that you can tell the difference, at least to the naked eye here. You can really tell. But I really do have an awful texture going on in my paint here, and it doesn't look good. I wish I could have gotten a much smoother paint on it. I really don't know why it is looking the way it is. Anyway, this is where we're going to let it dry. I might try sanding it down a little bit more here, maybe buff that out, see if I can get my paint to actually be smooth before I put any kind of a clear coat on it. But that's it. There's our color. Okay. Yeah, you can see in the overhead camera, it's definitely a rough finish. We got a little blemish in the plastic there that seemed to come through even through the primer, because I did primer this. But yeah, it's just really not looking very nice at all. I might have to, who knows, maybe I'll wind up stripping the whole thing. I don't know. We'll find out. We'll see. That's basically where we're going to end this episode, guys. I want to thank you for watching. Thanks for coming out and joining me on this little journey. And we'll see you all in the next one.